This could be the next big thing. We're talking about having virtual reality rooms in your living room, universities using virtual reality to teach, architects, astronauts, soldiers, contractors, all of them using virtual reality goggles in their line of work.
I can separate my physical location from where I am present, and that's going to be powerful.
One of the other presenters, I believe, said you can't escape your own perspective, which I think is a great statement. And virtual reality can't completely change that. But I wanted to show you at least one way in which you can. This is one of the most interesting experiments I've seen. Man and a woman sit in the same room back to back, but they have cameras mounted on the VR. So the man is seeing the woman's perspective, the woman is seeing the man's perspective. And they communicate how they actually move, what they do. So you can actually see what it's like to actually live in somebody else's body.
One of the big things that we're working on for the future is artificial intelligence, and our goal is to build computer systems which are better than people at all the perceptual things that people do.
I know as black people, we tend to think of virtual reality as another form of entertainment. So for once, don't even look at it like that this time. It's right here is beyond entertainment. And of course I'm gonna explain why, but we gotta quit thinking of things from a consumer's perspective. This right here gonna change the game on a lot of fronts. We gotta pay attention, get out in front of this. The way the cell phones done took over and warped all these young folks' minds to where they can't live without their cell phone. It's hard for us to talk or communicate or do anything without doing anything via a cell phone. This right here gonna get rid of the cell phone. It's something that we're gonna have to jump out in front of, you know, as far as the conscious community moving forward. We gotta understand, when things like this come about, there's a lot at stake here, and it's not as simple as, oh, it's just a toy or it's just a device. That's just how we may tend to think things are. But there's a lot of PhDs and people of, this is strategically placed. This isn't just some random thing, oh, okay, let's put this out, people like it, you know, it sells, let's make money. No, there are PhDs involved in this. People who study behavior, understand what's gonna happen, you know. And we'll understand, we're gonna later find out what the end game's supposed to be anyway. Just like with commercials. You may see it as just a McDonald's or a Taco Bell, Burger King, whatever commercial. Understand, there are PhDs, people who's already thought about everything you can think about. The colors are perfect to make you feel a certain way. So understand that everything is strategic. I mean, when we know sports is rigged, we already know that. Everything that we've ever really been told as of the last 50 or 60 years has been rigged. That means everything that we celebrate, so to speak. And that's even stuff like the civil rights movement, all that stuff strategically placed. I don't understand how we started out fighting for freedom, but then all of a sudden we were granted the right to vote. Those two things ain't got shit to do with each other. So, but again, somehow we were veered off course. But I'm gonna try to stay on course on this, because that's another subject for another day. But the goal here with virtual reality is to compromise the brain so they can create a reality for themselves. Understand, they're compromising the brain, which is the ultimate controller of behavior, to create a reality for themselves. You no longer think for yourself in any form or fashion. But I just know whenever I first heard about virtual reality kind of taking over and gonna be the real, you know, big thing next, first thing came to my mind was 9/11. And if we look at the video, you can see a plane about to crash into a building, and it crashes into it, right?
Holy shit!
Boom. All right, slow this down, look at it frame by frame. How is it that this plane can stop and half of the plane be sticking out the building without putting a dent in that building? To me, I always thought that was a hologram. when I first slowed it down. I had the luxury of having the footage to do this back in the day when it first happened. So it made me think that must have been a hologram. A lot of other theories about it, but to me, that was like the first instance
Holy fuck! Oh my God!
of a hologram. And when people talk about holograms and virtual reality, that's like always the first thing that come to my mind. But like I said, it's the next big computer platform, period. It's the next big computing platform. And that says a whole lot, because we see how computers run everything. And what I mean by platform is every company, all the major players have bought into this. I mean, everybody's getting on board, getting geared up to do this. Radio, TV, that's old. That is old. That's from the 60s, 70s, 80s. You can forget about all of that stuff. You know, it's a new place. You know, from a financial perspective, it's kind of like a new place where they can run ads, and that's what it's all about. You know, basketball ain't about who win a championship. It's about paying for the commercials so that the game can be played on TV. You know, TV shows are based on ad revenue. So we understand that this will be a whole new place, you know, because physical land or anything physical or tangible, all that's over with. All that's over with. Plus, it's cheaper to make a digital version. You know what I mean? Like, think about how much production costs to slow down and stuff like music. No longer do you have to have a CD in your hand. You know, it's not physical, it's not tangible. So, and plus, once you're dealing with this new world or new realm or avenue of digital content, it hadn't been governed yet. So you can break a lot of rules and do things that, you know, you can really get over on people because ain't no rules. Sort of like they never expected file sharing was gonna grow like it would, like it is now. You know, everybody's downloading something, as they say, illegally, but I don't look at it as illegal, but you know, whatever. But they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how, you know, to monitor porn on the internet and all that type of stuff. So, you know, but you know, by being the next digital platform, we think about some of the previous ones, especially the digital era to me really began with the computer. That's really my generation. And I remember people always used to tell me, you need to get you a computer, need to get you a computer. I always like, you know, well, computer, all you do is type on them. Maybe play solitaire, you know, something like that. But never thought too much about them until I started getting into music. And, you know, I just remember the engineer, he would always do some music and click on something on the computer. And I was thinking, what do you need a computer for? So anyway, long story short, I wound up getting my own keyboard and was trying to make music, and it didn't have one of the key components that I needed. It didn't have what was called a sequencer. So I would have to play everything the whole way through, which I couldn't really play then. So I needed a sequencer to loop the music back. So went back to the music store, and the guy was like, well, you got to buy this MPC, which that was like $2,500. I'm like, nah, I can't do that. He's like, you can buy this little sequencer here, and you know, it's about $300. But he kept trying to sell me the MPC, and it looked cool. I knew everybody had one, all the major producers. It was like a must-have in every studio. But I don't know where this came from, just intuition of just speaking. And I remember saying, well, I got a computer. And he looked at me like, you got a computer? I was like, yeah, you know, I just got it. I ain't gonna say I got it. But he said, well, you can get software. I didn't know what that was. He's like, it's a program you put on your computer. You have to load it up. He said, you got a new computer or old? I said, it look like it's new. He said, what Windows you got? And I said, I got Windows 95. He said, oh yeah, you in business. This was like 97. It was 97. And long story short, that computer became something for me to do music on. No longer was it just that thing where I could type and do my, you know, do whatever, my homework or whatever it was, just type on. Then go forward a little bit faster, speed is up. Then I wanted to change the background on it. I was like, well, I wish I could put a picture on my background instead of having that Windows 95 logo. And I saw on the side the thing, it was like, you can change the picture. So I was like, there's some more pictures already on there. So I changed them. I said, I wish I could get my own. Then I talked to a few people. They're like, well, you need to get a scanner so you can scan them in. Then stumbled across Photoshop. And I then realized, okay, I can do pictures on here. I can do music. I mean, it became clear that the computer was anything you want it to be. Just like in this case, I'm not recording this on the camera. I'm recording this on a computer that takes in light and transcodes it in the video. See what I'm saying? That computer is now my camera. So you know what I mean? So a camera is a computer. You know, everything now that's digital, your cell phone is not a phone. It's a computer that handles calls. So we gotta understand how this thing works. But anyway, the computer ultimately led to the next wave of digital platforms, the next wave of technology, and that was the internet. Again, I remember when I first went to college, there was like, it's a computer lab up there. I was told, you know, teacher, I'm like, I got a computer, I don't have to go there. They said, well, it's the internet up there. I said, what's the internet? He was like, well, you know, you can go on there or go travel across the world and all. I'm like, that don't even make sense. So, you know, me being me, I was always into computers and stuff like that. So went up there, checked it out, went to, you know, I just knew it was www.something.com. So I hadn't heard any websites. I put in NBA.com, typed it up, came up, just stupid scores. I'm like, you know, wasn't no video, none of that. So like, this ain't really nothing. I don't see how this gonna benefit me. But, you know, we started going into the 2000s and all of that, and file sharing started jumping off. We was able to get music off the internet. So then it became, well, I need to have the internet in my house. It was dial up at the time, but we then started seeing the importance of having, you know, the internet. You could connect, you can do research, which is another thing about the internet people don't want to admit to. It got rid of a lot of different factions, especially in the black community, because no longer did we have to believe certain religions and certain orders, because we could now look it up and that information became available. So that was a sort of a plus right there. But the problem with the internet was, how do you get people to stay on it? Here we come with the cell phone. The goal of the cell phone, see, here we are thinking about it from a consumer perspective. We call people. We don't have to be at home. Ain't no cord connected to it. We always available. You know, somebody need me, and it's just cool, it's convenient. That was not the goal of the cell phone. The goal of the cell phone was to keep you here and keep you in the loop, keep you in this, engaged in this right here, nothing else. The world doesn't matter. The goal was to keep you engaged right there. Remember, it's always cheaper to go digital, but this was the goal of the cell phone. I know Apple gets credit for, you know, the first smartphone, which that's not true. Compaq had one. I remember when I first had my first PDA, I don't say where I got that, but I remember I said, damn, this right here would be cool if it was a cell, if you could call somebody, because you could do everything. You had your planner on there, a calendar, all of that. Then I actually typed my book on the my first book on a Nokia N910, and that's a Linux-based tablet, portable tablet. And the cool thing about that was it had this place where you can get free software, or it was called applications. So that's where you get the apps from. So don't think Apple started the smartphone. But anyway, that's besides the point. But just remember, the goal of the cell phone, which cell phone was the last major digital platform that totally changed everything. And I wish we could have jumped out in front of that had we known, like hopefully I'm trying to get people to understand the ramifications of what's going to happen now if we don't get a stranglehold or somewhat get out in front of virtual reality. So, but the cell phone was to keep you here and keep you in the loop as far as social media and just being able to keep a pulse on everybody and everything that everybody do. You are being tracked on those cell phones. I think we kind of know that now, but we kind of, you know, when we wait or two, the government tracking me, have fun. You know, government tracking me, I'd rather have fun. That's what apparently what everybody wants to do, and they use social media for different reasons. But anyway, move on. Those what was going to ultimately lead up to this, and that's the cell phone right now is a bridge between virtual reality and the cell phone. So the cell phone is being used to kind of push in this. Of course, we know with the virtual reality, the goggles they got now, just, of course, it's gonna be more, radio waves to the head. Other things are gonna come along with this. You're gonna vehicles and everything gonna be online now because everything now is connected. Everything. The newer cars coming out, they are easily tracked. They got sensors in them. A lot of them got Wi-Fi in them. Think if you got Wi-Fi in something, it has to be able to tether to something. So we have to understand that. And as far as the vehicles being online, that's gonna be pretty much a standard in the next 5 years. But we do know that they have successfully had that first 18-wheeler drive and deliver and make a run with a driverless on a driverless run.
The first self-driving car won't be a car at all. It'll be a truck. This is the Freightliner Inspiration, a prototype truck that is legally roaming the highways of Nevada.
Ready to go? As soon as Highway Pilot is available, we'll get an indication on the instrument cluster. So it's activated with the button press, and you'll notice
You're not doing anything
I'm
at
not
this
doing
point,
anything. My
right?
feet, my feet are off the pedals.
Right.
I can look at you and still steer.
Right.
And so we're in autonomous mode.
The Inspiration uses a combination of GPS, radar, and video cameras to achieve what's called Level 3 autonomy. That means the truck can drive itself when the conditions are right, but a driver has to remain in the driver's seat and be ready to take over control in around 20 seconds if needed.
I'm being requested to take control of the system.
So if you don't,
As a result of not seeing driver interaction, it will slow itself down. It will apply the engine brakes, and if
Okay.
it needs to, it apply the vehicle brakes.
a Level 3 system like Freightliners makes a good degree of sense for a truck. Cruising along a monotonous stretch of freeway, let the computer take over. But once you pull into a city and have to negotiate that double-parked delivery truck and the traffic cop waving you through a red light, a human is better at the controls. In a given year, more than 3 million trucks carry 9.2 billion tons of cargo in the U.S. If computers, which never get drowsy or distracted, can shoulder some of that driving burden, human drivers will be more rested and alert when they do need to drive.
There's fuel efficiency impact, safety, also maintenance. All of those things are benefits to moving freight across the country.
Freightliner's truck is a prototype, but the technology inside is actually pretty mature. What needs development aren't new sensors or microprocessors, but laws and regulations that will govern how these machines will exist in the world.
We want to have the conversation with the federal governments, with the state governments. That's what we really see as the next steps in order to bring autonomous driving to the road.
But having the cars online will make it easier for the driverless system that's going to come probably in the next 10 years. But they're talking about before they have fully driverless cars, they're going to start with driverless 18-wheelers, which I think that's kind of backwards. But you can expect to see that. Of course, you're going to lose jobs and all of that. But also with the virtual reality, your gaming gonna be more intense. We're gonna lose a lot of brothers in the struggle with the gaming, because the gaming gonna be so real, because you're gonna be in this world and you can look left, look right, you can see different things, look up. You're in a whole different world.
Nowadays, head-mounted displays like the Oculus Rift and Sony Morpheus allow you to enter virtual environments visually, but there is still the key problem of being unable to actually walk through virtual space, which the Virtualizer solves. The Virtualizer is an award-winning locomotion device for virtual reality that allows the user to move freely in virtual environments.
Again, gaming gonna be more intense. Sports. Imagine this, your favorite team, whatever, San Antonio Spurs. You can buy a ticket, put on your goggles, you can sit behind the bench. You look to your right, you can see the other end of the court. Look left, see this end, see the people sitting down in front of you. People love sports so much now, it's ridiculous. It's the new, probably the newest religion. People just fans, short for fanatic. That's where the word fan comes from. This get out, I don't see how a lot of people are gonna be able to come back from wherever they headed, because it ain't a good thing. But ultimately, everybody gonna be on the grid. Everybody gonna be tracked. Again, we gotta get out in front of this. But by you having on the goggles, which is gonna be eventually become a little bit more stylish, it's gonna be cameras everywhere. Because as you look out, there's a camera recording all the data that's going in, you know? So, and remember, this stuff is stored, the way it works is made by stored information. So if you go into like augmented reality, which is, you know, you can still see the real world, you just have these different little pictures and boxes and different things in your peripheral, which is, you know, it's gonna be a little bit fascinating when you first see how things gonna originally come to be. So, but that stuff, I mean, it's gonna blow your mind as far as, you know, the ability or different things that you're able to achieve, different multitasking that you can do. But again, all the major players done put in on this. They all weighing in on this, all the stakeholders. And if you don't know what stakeholders are, it's probably the reason why your business never did succeed. In order to run a business, you need the avenue, need the road paved, and people willing to spend money and invest in you. And here, just like when the iPhone rolled out, they didn't just put the iPhone out and then people started making apps after it came out. When it came out, it already had apps because the stakeholders and the people that they wanted to get involved got involved. And they created that lane and they ran with it. But in this case, Google had already made a claim. And the easiest way to show you what Google came up with, this right here was like their little early test run, the Google Cardboard. You can put your cell phone in here, boom, put these on, and you can look, you know. This right here was like just a little preliminary trial thing they put out. You know, it's impressive, you know, to say the least. But Google, you know, they already got their VR. They you know, they have already got everything going. Microsoft, Facebook gonna probably, with the way they kind of run the social media world, they've already teamed up with Oculus. They got their own thing going, and you know, you need to brace yourself for what they got going. You talking about totally distracting people from what they need to be doing. It's gonna be definitely Facebook.
The fact that Facebook is committed to virtual reality and committed to the fact that it is going to take time to develop this technology and ramp it up, that they're investing in the research that we're doing, that really makes a difference because virtual reality now has the runway to become truly successful.
You know, there are all these different variants on how the world could be that it's really hard to imagine what that is like except intellectually. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, when you can actually viscerally feel that and exist in that world, I think that's going to unlock all kinds of new possibilities.
And I will admit, Microsoft got the coolest thing. They got the coolest version. The HoloLens, that right there just really is outrageous.
But what if we could go further? What if we could go beyond the screen? Where your digital world is blended with your real world. Now we can. This is the world with holograms. What will they enable us to do? New ways to visualize our work.
I have an idea for the fuel tank.
New ways to share ideas with each other.
How are things going your end?
I just put the images in OneDrive.
Perfect.
More immersive ways to play. New ways to teach and learn.
So put the new trap in the place of the old one.
Now what?
And tighten here and here.
You know, the thing with this is, you don't have to be attached to a computer. You can still, I mean, those like the Microsoft HoloLens, that's fully untethered, meaning you don't have to be connected to anything, nothing like that. You can walk outside with those on and you can do whatever you need to do. Problem with that is you're being tracked. Because again, in order for it to put up those images, those holograms, it has to be able to tell what's real, meaning what's tangible, what's, you know, so if you walk around outside, if there's a tree in front of you, you gotta still be able to see that tree, but you can also move everything around in your peripheral, you know, it's gonna be crazy, because now other people are designing things to where you can, you know, like if you got Facebook app, you can see all your friends over here, and as they do stuff, you can move them over here, click on them, call them, talk to them, see them, video chat with them. You see, it's a lot of distraction. That's all it really is. But these are things that you will be able to do, and ultimately that person can, if we would say back in the day, teleport in front of you, stand in front of you, and you can have a conversation with them.
Let's try doing something else even more crazy. I invite you to experience, for the first time anywhere in the world, here on the TED stage, a real-life holographic teleportation between me and my friend, Dr. Jeffrey Norris from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Fingers crossed. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Alex.
Whew, that worked. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing great. I've had an awesome week.
So can you tell us a little bit, Jeff, about where you are?
Well, I'm actually in 3 places. I'm standing in a room across the street, while I'm standing on this stage with you, while I'm standing on Mars, 100 million miles away.
Wow, 100 million miles away. This is crazy.
As we saw with the HoloLens, you can scale your TV, so you never know, TV probably become obsolete. And they're also working on things to where you and somebody else, like your wife or whoever, you know, whoever it is, y'all can all have on headsets, which will eventually be turned into shades, which will eventually turn into contacts. So you could sit there and watch the same thing at the same time, be looking at a blank wall, but y'all both can see the same screen, the same thing going on. But again, this is being ushered in through the cell phone, especially with Google, you know, allowing us to, you know, with the cardboard, to put the cell phone inside the goggles. That's that bridge. That's all you always need as you go to different platforms. So trying to usher in something new, you got to have a bridge. And right now, Google doing the best job of that, because you don't have to buy, like the HoloLens costs, I know, at least 2 G's. So, you know, with this, you got the cell phone. You can just buy the headgear, or do like I did, get the cardboard and check it out. But the cardboard only like $2 on eBay. You don't have to buy it from Google. But anyway, speaking of, you know, going back to those platforms, the internet, I remember back, Steve Jobs was talking about how the iPad was going to revolutionize how we surf the web, and he was bent over typing and surfing on the internet. I'm like, you know, that ain't shit. That's you hunched over looking on the internet on a little flat thing, you know. So anyway, the tablet never revolutionized it, but this will revolutionize how you see things on the internet. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to visually go into like Disney.com. You go there, you can look around and you can see Mickey and whoever else, whatever else they got going on. You can go on the rides. Of course, you probably pay for this, but those are things, you know, that we got to contend with. Online shopping, museum websites. You know, you can just imagine how that's going to be. You can actually see the artifacts in 3D and rotate and walk through it, because it's all sense-based. Because once you put this in, your whole peripheral is engulfed in this one area, your brain will fix what it is you're seeing to make it seem like you're there. And that's the beauty, I guess the gift and the curse of the brain. Just like when you see things through your eyes, your brain flips it right side up, because your brain actually brings in the waves and the pictures upside down. And also, like I said, the version of the HoloLens was considered augmented reality, meaning it's real world plus holograms. But the problem with this is you got data recreation in there, or you now have something looking out that sees everything that you see. So there won't be any secrets. There's gonna be cameras all over the place, because everybody's gonna be walking around with them. And I guess the way they're gonna probably, once you start seeing this, is when you're gonna know it's gonna be a big thing, when Hollywood get involved. And the stars, same way the iPhone and the Beats came to be so popular. You give them the stars, the rest of the people gonna follow. We already know that's a formula for success for them. And I know before or after the Super Bowl, 24 Legacy released the prequel to that first episode through Samsung. So it was like I think it was like some 3D or virtual reality thing, you know. But like I say, once Hollywood get involved, you know, it's a wrap. Everybody's gonna fall for it, hook, line, sinker. So, but you know, but if it's coming out, that means that it's already in place. The paradigm is firmly in place. People are now have now been scanned for background parts in movies. Like the people you see in the background, a lot of the movies ain't people. They really just computerized digital people. They're not real people in a lot of these movies. There's a database right now of people and heads already on file. So if you got a movie and you need to put a certain person, or you want to pay somebody, or you just want a black guy in the movie, you can put a black guy in the background, you know, that type of stuff. But there's a database already created. You know, we look at, and you know, a lot of stuff I'm seeing, noticing now, they're doing a lot of age regression in a lot of these TV shows and movies. Like, it tripped me out how they had Anthony Hopkins look young again. Then you had Kevin Hart and The Rock, they both look young. And even Kevin Hart, it was, you knew The Rock was fake by the commercial. But when I saw Kevin Hart, I give him another damn good job of making him look young. Like that looked like he really did look young. And a lot of celebrities now have gotten head scans. So that way they'll forever stay young, or at least in the movies they will. So that's something you gotta think about. I'm sure they're gonna start bringing back dead celebrities. People like John Wayne and Elvis, people that got a lot of video footage on, they can go ahead and, you know, roll them back out and put them in movies. Don't be surprised you start seeing dead people in movies, you know. And with that said, you know, they can do that. How hard is it to project a figure in your peripheral to where you see somebody down the street doing something, but it's really not a person, but you wouldn't know. You know, these are the games that can be played, so it can be easy to manipulate, because again, you're playing with the brain. And the goal is to create their reality for themselves, but it's gonna compromise the brain in doing so. Also, they now, a little side note, they got Adobe Voco, which is like Photoshop for audio, can make you say anything. Take anybody's voice, have them say all types of words.
Introducing Project Vocal. Project Vocal allows you to edit speech in text. So let's bring it up. So I'll just load this audio piece into Vocal. So wait a second. And we have this. So as you can see, let me zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, we have the audio waveform above it, and we have the text under it. And when we play back, the text and the audio should play back at the same time. So let's try it.
And I kiss my dogs and my wife.
So let's remove the word my here.
Your secret's out, Jordan.
And just type the word Jordan.
Ooh.
And here we go.
And I kiss Jordan and my dogs.
We're not just going to do with words. We can actually type small phrases. So let's say, okay, so we remove those words and we do 3 times.
Oh.
And play back.
And I kissed Jordan 3 times.
They're also working on taste and touch in this virtual reality. Because you got to remember, you don't taste with your tongue. You don't touch with your fingers or nothing that rubs up against you. Your brain decodes that information. Same way with my eyes. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your brain. So once you compromise the brain or tell the brain what it is, then, you know, that's what it is. You know, you will be able to taste certain things. If you can send that sense to the brain or that information to the brain to where, okay, you're touching something, you know. You know, that's why you have those experiences in your dreams. You wake up sweating or whatever because you've been running in your dream. You wake up mad because you're mad in your dreams or whatever else. So it's kind of that same way because it's all about the brain. The brain decodes the reality that we know as reality. So, you know, but again, this right here going to play on simulation or encoding consciousness. And understand what encoding means. It means it's shaping consciousness. That's ultimately what this is doing. It's shaping your consciousness. And what is consciousness? Consciousness is you. That's your only relation to God. That's why you are God, because you are consciousness. If you don't understand that, then you're going to have a lot of problems anyway. But understand, that's the importance in this. It's affecting consciousness because it's decoding, or take that back, it's encoding consciousness, meaning it's shaping consciousness. And that's the issue that's what's really at stake right here. And you look at, you know, the different things that affect consciousness. Really just one, to be more exact and more precise, and that's the brain. But all the other things that you can do to affect consciousness is done through the brain. You could say the breath as well, but primarily through the brain, because the brain ultimately controls behavior. You know, and understand consciousness, it just is, you know. They give Einstein credit for E equals MC squared. Energy can't be destroyed nor created, but we've known that well before him. But what is energy? It's consciousness. It's that life force, you know, the sustaining factor in all living things. You know, when that vitality gets low, consciousness gets low. But the consciousness just leaves the body and goes into something else, some other form. So understand, you know, like I say, what's really at stake here. And ultimately, that's, you know, what's really going on. And we've seen clips of people who've been tripping out on drugs or whatever. You can take different mushrooms, stuff like that, all that type of stuff. It affects the brain. That's the reason you're able to see these different things and come up with all these cool ideas when you own something or you tripping or whatever. But in the end, it's going to be the ultimate consciousness encoder, and eventually you won't be thinking for yourself. You won't be thinking at all. It's going to be everything's going to be completely manufactured, because you got to understand, consciousness is the hardest thing to duplicate, but it is now the easiest thing to manipulate. It's hard to duplicate consciousness, and they've been trying and trying. They now have, if you look up CRISPR, they're now adjusting the genes in babies so you can have your baby any way that you want. You want them to be smart, you want them to be athletic. They are now adjusting the genes. And since they're talking about it and they know that and people know that they can do this, so we know they've been doing it for years. So this ain't nothing new. So, but look up CRISPR, CRISPR, not ER, but just R at the end. Look up that technology and you'll see, you know, this stuff is real.
A few years ago, with my colleague Emmanuel Charpentier, I invented a new technology for editing genomes. It's called CRISPR-Cas9. The CRISPR technology allows scientists to make changes to the DNA in cells that could allow us to cure genetic disease. You might be interested to know that the CRISPR technology came about through a basic research project that was aimed at discovering how bacteria fight viral infections. And because of the excitement around this technology, there's a lot of interest in startup companies that have been founded to commercialize the CRISPR technology, and lots of venture capitalists that have been investing in these companies. But we have to also consider that the CRISPR technology can be used for things like enhancement. Imagine that we could try to engineer humans that have enhanced properties, such as stronger bones or less susceptibility to cardiovascular disease, or even to have properties that we would consider maybe to be desirable, like a different eye color or to be taller, things like that. Designer humans, if you will. Right now, the genetic information to understand what types of genes would give rise to these traits are mostly not known. But it's important to know that the CRISPR technology gives us a tool to make such changes once that knowledge becomes available. Genome-engineered humans are not with us yet, but this is no longer science fiction. Genome-engineered animals and plants are happening right now. And this puts in front of all of us a huge responsibility to consider carefully both the unintended consequences as well as the intended impacts of a scientific breakthrough. Thank you.
But again, you're affecting consciousness because you now have a stranglehold on that child or that being or what will become a being. So this is also be like that final merge with the machine or the server. The server, you have to understand, there are supercomputers right now. All the information, even this information, is going out to that server. There's a storehouse of information that taps into what you're doing right now. You like this, you like that. The computer Watson, they're working on a program for Watson right now. They even gave him a name. Right now, to be able to look at your profile, look at your likes, and tell you different things about you. Like I mentioned in the Language of Consciousness DVDs, there's no longer a need to data mine people. Used to be you get in trouble with the government, first thing they want to do is look up your mama, your daddy, everything you done ever done in your life, and they had to go through all this digital stuff. Hopefully your stuff is online. Now they can just get on Facebook and they can tell everything about you. They see you know, what you do on Instagram, Snapchat. But again, it's gonna be that final merger with the machine to where, and another thing too, we gotta understand, you know, my generation, the people that's 40 and on, they're not thinking about us because most of the people my age out of shape and gonna die before they get to be 50 something. So by the time this technology, you know, get legs, they'll be dead anyway or half-ass dead. So, but the goal is to get those youngsters, you know, the ones that on their cell phones now, and they already got them. All they gotta do is tell them this is the next thing. And boom, they already got it, you know. So you have to be careful in that regard because, you know, as you start going down these avenues with these different things, it's like the old saying is, you never let the devil ride because he's gonna want to drive. And right now we keep flirting with these different ideas and different things like that. You know, you're gonna kind of go somewhere you probably don't want to go and you can't come back from. So, but this would be like that, you know, that little merger with the machine to where you're gonna become somewhat of a robot in every respect. You know, you will be a robot because without your phone, what will you be? Without, you know, you can only imagine, without virtual reality, where will you be? How will you connect with people? You know, we talking about everybody being on the grid, everything you do on the grid. So with this, it's gonna be, you know, just a major mind-altering stimulant, have real subliminal messages. So you will have subliminal messages. You know, we may walk down the street at the same time with two different people. My billboard may say something different than your billboard. You may have a Nike one because that's all you wear, you know, or you may shop at a certain store. Mine may be completely different, but that's the thing about this, you know, everybody's gonna be different, but in the end, we all gonna be dependent on these things. But again, like I said, that's why we have to get out in front of this, you know, and it's all about just reinforcement. If you ever want to train a dog, you train a dog through reinforcement. You have to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, and that's how they learn. So, same thing with people. You want to teach somebody something, it's about repetition. And this right here is going to be one of the greatest reinforcers of all time because all behavior changes our brain. And we have to understand how all this kind of ties in because, again, it's about reinforcement. I mean, this stuff has been studied by all the psychologists, all the people that you know, deal with behavior. they know what happens, and they've been knowing what happens if you put a group of impoverished people, or should I just be honest, they knew what happened. You put a bunch of niggas in a small apartment complex. They knew what happened. Nobody got money and ain't no jobs. They knew what was gonna happen. Same thing with this. They know what's gonna happen by giving you this virtual reality bullshit. They already know. So again, all it's gonna do is just destroy culture. There won't be a culture because right now, to me personally, I don't see black millennials as black people. I see millennials, they call themselves millennials, really they niggas, they don't understand that. They start trying to get jobs. But anyway, I see them as Americans. They all have the American mindset. They all want, you know, why am I tripping? You know, that stuff, oh, racism dead. So, but they speak like Americans. So I don't really see them as black. But, you know, you never know. Some of them may change. For the most part, ain't no such thing as no African American. They just all Americans to me. They all believe in the government. They believe there was a moon landing. They believe Obama was Obama. You know, just, you know, like I say, but culture's gonna be gone. Because it's already kind of slipping through the threads now. Now your culture is your country, and, you know, like I say, the people here done bought into America. So that's what it is. They all Americans. But I think Christians are gonna hate this, but they'll get used to it. People gonna start questioning God.
Now imagine having granular control over everything in the world.
They think God, Jesus created this world. So now you got people in a virtual world, and they like that world better than this world. So who's God? Is the virtual reality creator's God? Or is God God? You know, so, and then there's no religious defense for that. Here you are now, you breaking the time and space continuum. You're able to teleport, so to speak.
This is a precise holographic replica of Mars.
See what I'm saying? And you can basically travel in an instant. And also, I think new religions gonna arise from this too, because Christianity falling by the wayside, and we've already seen how Islam done kind of fallen and bowed out gracefully with the internet, and since there have been different teachings, and we see how we get treated when we do go to those Arabic places. You know, they look at us like we niggas. And same thing when we go to Africa with those Muslims. So I think new religions gonna come up out of this, because you know, you dealing with something like this. It don't take much to sway the opinion, especially you're now putting something in everybody's head. I mean, you're actually putting something in people's heads. And we know how millennials fall for anything. They always want to protest. Do some of the worst protesting I've ever seen in my life. But they call themselves protesting, holding up these little raggedy ass signs, ain't doing shit, just talking and just what, I mean, it's like they do it because they told they gotta go out there and protest. Don't even know what they fighting for. Millennials, they'll protest anything, and you know, they love the machine. You can't get them away from their phone. So it's gonna be hard to get them away from this technology, which we know that we need to use. That was always a thing from the Black Panther Party, Nation of Islam, back in its heyday, in its glory days, when X was running things, and even throughout the 80s, when Farrakhan was strong, and Khalid Muhammad, we all knew, and even when I got to speaking, we knew the importance of getting the youth. But the problem is the youth, unless you got an app, for whatever you're doing, you ain't finna get the youth. Unless you got some type of app that'll get them to come and do whatever it is you want them to do. So, you know, I hate to say that, but it's kind of the way it is. But I'm hoping if we can get out in front of this and, you know, kind of get the ball rolling in our favor, not just let this come and hit us in the face like the cell phone, and then, you know, so we can kind of get out in front of it. Anyway, here's the serious part of it. This is gonna be the first phase of the chip. We're all talking about getting microchips. This is gonna be the first phase, because eventually that virtual reality headset is gonna be contacts.
It's being called Google Glass for your eyeballs. At this year's Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, a company named Innovega plans to debut its Eye Optic system, which promises a more natural form of augmented reality. The two-part system works by combining special contact lenses with a pair of glasses that use tiny projectors to transmit data onto the lenses. Now, at first, this seems like a more complicated way of achieving what glass does with half as many parts, but take a look at this concept video from Innovega.
And I wrote this on one of my articles on my old website, it's no longer up there. And I said one of the first ways to get the chip is going to be to offer you health. So now they already starting to put things in you to monitor, you know, your heart and all of that. They say, you know, it'd be like a check engine light. But here, what do you think high blood pressure here? What do you think bumps are? They're all forms of check engine lights. So, but this right here is gonna be your ultimate monitoring thing. That's how they're gonna recognize you. You wanna walk into a store, that's what's gonna tell the store who you are, which the store is gonna become alive because it's gonna not let you in if you don't have your chip or your virtual reality apparatus. So it's gonna be the first phase of the chip. Ain't gonna be no stamps or no stickers. But this right here is gonna be ultimate control. You will be pretty much a cyborg, you know. Another thing too with this is gonna help assist them in getting, because they've been trying to copy consciousness to a computer for at least a decade that I know of. They've been trying to recreate consciousness, but again, consciousness is just there. They fail to accept that reality, which again is probably why they're creating virtual reality. But they still trying to do it, So what better way than to get everybody's thoughts into one database? You know what I mean? So, but that's the ultimate goal in this, you know, and understand the computer just is what it is. It's basically a big calculator. All it does is tabulate and calculate. That's all it does. You put in a request and it'll spit it out. It'll tabulate this or calculate an answer. You know, so we need to, like I say, get people on board, the youngsters on board that can understand how this works, put something together for us to help preserve our culture, because right now, I don't see the Black Power movement churning out any more soldiers. I just don't see that happening. You know, these cats ain't hungry. There's no lust or thirst for knowledge, let alone knowledge of self, because to them, they know everything, because they've been taught everything that they need to know, so they think. So I don't see that yearning for, oh, let me get back to, you know, with my black side. To them, their history began in slavery, went through the civil rights, we got our right to vote, and we had a black president, and we good. We able to do whatever we want to do in this country. Anybody can be president, anybody can do whatever you want to be. So they believe that. So you take some dude on the corner trying to tell them, you know, he ain't got much, trying to tell them about being black and culture and all this. First thing they're gonna tell you, I done heard people say this. I'm not from Africa. People say that. I'm not from Africa. So you see what I'm saying? And to them, they actually not from Africa. They Americans. So we have to understand that. But you know, we've also always worried about COINTELPRO. That's all the AI gonna be. The artificial intelligence is gonna be COINTELPRO. Remember, it's gonna be recording all the time. You can try to have your little meetings, but somebody gonna bring a cell phone in there, and cell phones are always on, always recording. And you know, now cell phones come with that. Every cell phone comes with some form of an assistant. Google comes with Google, Alexa, Siri, Microsoft got Cortana, and they say it's only supposed to start recording whenever you say, hey Siri, or hey Alexa, then it'll start recording. But how would it know to record unless they hear you say it? See what I'm saying? So they record all the time. So we may as well get over that. But the key here is that we gotta preserve our culture. I've been screaming this for years now. Really, it's been 10 years since I did my first DVD. But we gotta preserve culture, you know. Culture is different now, but we gotta keep the one thing that made us, that made us great. We gotta keep that thing, we gotta keep that in the forefront of everything we do. Whether it's music, you gotta put something black in it. It's one of the reasons why I think music is not as good. Same thing with film. I'm working on a film myself. I'm gonna try to shoot it this summer, but we gotta preserve culture. We gotta keep our culture first, because if you don't control your culture, somebody else controlling it, and the culture is gonna fade away, which is kind of what we kind of let happen. Now all we want to do is play basketball, play some sport, something like that, you know, but that's kind of the way it is. But not only that, we gotta create, we need these youngsters, if the ones that, you know, smart enough and understand how this stuff can work, we may have to take what we know, but have them create something for us. So don't get mad at your child or somebody who's not fully down with what you down with, but if they able to help, you know, create something for us, an app and shit. If they can create an app to get, you know, some of these young folks to listen, it might be worthwhile. And they not, just kind of like with the way we wrote off people like Colin Powell. If we could have recruited him to help us, you know what I mean, he'd be a useful asset. We talking about, you know, learning military strategies. And a lot of the other brothers who've been in the military, they can show you how to clean a gun. They can show you how troops are moved. But because they was in the military or because they was, you know, in the government, I ain't saying you got to put them in your crew. I'm saying, but you could at least pick their brain to help you move forward, other than playing with social media. And that's, you know, like I said, that's something that we hate to deal with. I think a lot of it is jealousy, because I think a lot of people really just want to be black because they don't have the finances to be rich. That's reason a lot of people, they easily jump ship, like your Ice Cube, a lot of these entertainers who was once pro-black. They really pro-black because they broke. You know what I mean? So, anyway, talk about that. We gotta develop something, but the key is to not get so engulfed in social media, because Facebook is not about connecting people. It's about diverting your consciousness. At the end of the day, we should be studying, you know. Facebook, I haven't seen one teacher come out of Facebook. Not one teacher that teaches us shit has come out of Facebook. I don't think it's just a bunch of haters. People can hide behind screen name, making fake pages, come in, trying to play devil's advocate, just trying to stir up shit. You trying to defend yourself. It's just, you know, like I say, nothing good has ever came out of that. And then it don't allow people to pursue the goal of perfection or trying to do things right, because we now see other speakers in a regular day-to-day form. So you may see somebody, oh, well, we thought he was, you know, just perfect. We thought all he did was study all day. But here we see him out kicking it, he out hooping. So now I don't have to take what I do as serious. I can go out and chill and do whatever. But I mean, that's what you do, that's what you do. But I always tell people, you need to find an outlet, something. I like working out, love music, like taking pictures. But at the end of the day, man, I always find time to study new things and different things like that. That's just me though. But I always think, you know, I always suggest that you need to find something to keep you going. And a lot of times it's things that's relaxing, that's not so intense on the brain. But at the same time, you gotta keep studying. And you gotta preserve your culture. And one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you, don't chase happiness, strive for peace.